Their training isn't there. I haven't used this training for some time, but yet I gave it my best shot.
I would say that it's very important for people to have the training, if for no other reason than to have the confidence to step up and take immediate action when people are in need.
We can't rely on totally just on fire, EMT, police to be there at your beck and call, because they're not going to be able to, especially in a situation like this where I don't know how long it takes somebody to actually collapse, but we had the ability to take care of business right there.
I definitely don't think of myself as a hero in the traditional sense for having helped the young kid, but I guess in any situation, you do need people to step up and respond and do their best to help out.
My definition of a hero is there's a lot of different heroes out there. I don't consider myself a hero. I just happen to be a bystander at the right time, the right place that could assist in some capacity.
For me, it's always been a natural thing to do. The tagline for the Red Cross is the gift of life. I thought, what better way to substantiate my existence on the planet than to help somebody else? I started years ago when I was in college. Back in the day, I used to go in and donate whole blood and used to look around the corner and say, what are those guys doing over there? And the pheresis process was explained to me and it sounded intriguing. Doing platelet pheresis, I'm on a consistent basis now, and it's just become a habit. You know, it's every other Thursday night. With all of the advances that we've made in medical technology, we have yet to be able to create a blood substitute. And blood is so vital that without people donating, there are people who are going to die. I can't think of a more important reason to participate. People who are leukemia patients receive platelets along with a number of other patients who receive platelets as part of their treatment program. There's been a couple of times in the past where I've been cross-matched against a particular patient, and that's always been a lot of fun. You know, knowing that you're helping somebody, say through a bone marrow transplant or whatever the process may be. It's such a simple process, and the byproduct of it is that you're saving somebody's life or helping to save somebody's life. For me, it's always been a very selfish thing. I mean, it's 2 hours with no telephones, no worrying about kids, no worrying about job commitments. You get to sit back. You've got a wonderful staff of people that take great care of you. You put your feet up, you watch a movie, and you're done. It's a wonderful group of people, and over the course of 20 years, I've known some people that have come and some have gone. There's a couple of folks that I've developed a nice relationship with over the course of the years, and they take excellent care of me. Being recognized for something that's as natural as this makes me feel very self-conscious. If it helps to motivate other people, more the better.
Britt was at a crossroads in her life, and she was a communications major who loved the idea of TV, and the camera loved her, but yet she had great compassion for her fellow human beings. And so this was something she wanted to, out of all the courses that she could have done, she decided she wanted to go to the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere, and she wanted to give back, and that's what she did.
I was fortunate enough to talk to her the day before and an hour before the earthquake, and that she conveyed that to me, that, Mom, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Monday night, her email to me was, I can't wait to go to bed and wake up tomorrow to see what tomorrow brings. And I'm just glad that she knew what she wanted to do.
We went to work that day, and it was cold out, maybe 5 kids in the water, not that much. And then all of a sudden we see a kid go under, and it just looks like he dove under the raft. Kids do it all the time just to annoy the lifeguard. And then all of a sudden his brother starts screaming out of the raft, my brother never came up, my brother never came up. So me and Kyle just glanced at each other and we started running into the water. We got in there, we took so many dives. After roughly 15 dives, I came up and I just stopped diving for a minute because it wasn't working. I see another patch of bubbles and Kyle sees the same patch of bubbles and he's pointing at them, and I'm like, okay. So I start swimming and it's a good 10 feet over from where we were. I go down, and once again, this is a lake, so every time I go down there, you can't see past your hand. When I went down, I saw him at the bottom. I brought him up and I could tell right away it was not good. So Kyle had already jumped in. He could see I had him. He jumped in and he was swimming towards me with his tube. There was still some people in the water, even though we told everyone to get out, and I made sure everyone got out of the water. And then we started doing CPR right until EMS showed up with their trucks and they took over. And then we had a bunch of paperwork to fill out after that.
They did CPR with the police department for about 7 minutes before EMS arrived on scene. But at that point, he was pulseless and he wasn't breathing. After EMS arrived and they continued CPR, he began breathing on his own and his pulses resumed. And we packaged him up, and we didn't have to do much because the lifeguards did a great job.
If me and Kyle both weren't there, it would have been very hard because it was exhausting doing two-man CPR, and I know for a fact that one-man CPR is much harder. We got the opportunity from his parents to go and see him. He was doing good, he was saying thanks, and it was a really good feeling just to know that, hey, you know what, he's okay. And then, you know, after that, it was about maybe a couple weeks after that, he was at the skate park skating up and down the ramps and stuff, so I was like, all right, he's back to his normal self, and I was happy.
It's people like Kyle and James that, that live amongst us in the community that do these things, that they're not looking for any attention, they're just normal people, at their summer job. And these things just kind of happen and they rise to the occasion. And they should be recognized as heroes. It was a very difficult rescue.
Very easily they could have gotten caught up in that seaweed. And if they would have gotten caught up in that seaweed, one wouldn't have known it. So I mean Kyle and Jim were in real danger that day. There's no question about it. And it didn't stop them from doing what they needed to do.
For me, it was my job. We were there, we're getting a decent amount of money to be there, and I don't consider myself a hero, it's just that.
She's driving north, I'm driving south. As I got to that area where my car is parked, I saw this tumbling ball of flames. And her engine was already well on fire. And initially my reaction was fear, like, what's propelling that? How far, is it gonna come all the way to me? But it had rolled enough so the doors were dented. I think my first thought was, oh, whoever's in there must be dead. Just because it was so loud, when I saw her hand come out, it no longer was a fire, it was a person. So I got over there and she said, I can't get out, I can't get out. Don't leave me, don't leave me. I said, I won't leave you, I promise. I was trying to hold the door open and get her in a headlock. It sounds crude, but when your strength is divided in half, you can't. What happened is the door kept dropping. When you're under a door and holding it up, they are heavy. And my arm kept going out of socket, right? And every time it went out of socket, I'd drop the door and I'd have to get between her and the door so she wouldn't get slammed. So finally on the third time, I was able to go, keep the door up, get her in the headlock and pull her out. I thought she was a young girl. I said, run, baby, run. And I took her hand and we started running. We got 3 to 5 steps and the car went up. I mean, it blew big time. She wasn't getting out on her own. I'm just thankful that I had the opportunity to help her out.
He had already, swooped in, saved the girl, and left. It's like a Superman hit tail. By the time the officer got there, the car was already fully engulfed. It's good that somebody was there, like Greg, to go in and take her out of the car, because the time it took for the officer to get there, she was already out of the car, and I think Greg was already at the dispatch center talking to the dispatcher by the time the officer got there. I was a platoon sergeant and a platoon leader in Vietnam, and I was in the jungle for well over a year. I never came out of the jungle. Through my training in the 101st Airborne Division, if I hear gunshot wounds or something, most people run the other way. I run towards them. I mean, something is wired a little differently. I appreciate what the chief has done for me. He put me in for one thing, which is the oldest, most prestigious medal in the United States, called the Carnegie Medal. 20 to 25% of the people who get it posthumously. So I don't know what my odds are there. I'm not posthumous yet, I went out with the co-captains of